What if I told you there's a group in America who keep their homes at 35 degrees Fahrenheit when it's blazing 110 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and they do it without electricity? Stick around, because their 200-year-old secrets could change how you survive summer forever. Hey everyone, I spent the last week diving deep into forgotten American history, reading journals, talking to experts, even visiting an Amish community. What I found was shocking. These families have perfected the art of staying cool without AC, fans, or power. And most people don't even know it. In this video, I'm breaking down their ancient tricks. From root cellars that defy science to curtains that act like air conditioners. These aren't just old-timey tips. They're genius, practical, and possibly life-saving. So, before you crank up that AC, watch this all the way through. You might be surprised what our ancestors knew long before electricity took over. Number 1. Masterful home design and insulation. Let's start with the foundation, literally. Because when it comes to staying cool without electricity, Amish families don't just rely on tricks or habits. They build their homes like fortresses against heat, and they've been doing it for generations. You might think that in the middle of summer, especially when the sun is beating down and temperatures hit triple digits, there's no way to stay cool without air conditioning. But the Amish have cracked the code using something most people forget about: smart home design. These homes aren't built for show, they're built for survival, and every inch of them is intentional. Take the walls, for example. Most Amish houses are made from solid logs, thick timber, or even straw bales. That might sound rustic, but these materials are powerful insulators. Unlike modern drywall and thin siding, which let heat pour in like water through a sieve, log walls are dense and heavy. They act like sponges, soaking up the coolness at night and holding on to it during the day. Think of it like this. If your house is made of something light and flimsy, it warms up fast, like a car parked in the sun. But if you're inside a thick wooden cabin, it takes hours for the temperature to shift. That's thermal mass in action. And it's not just the walls. The floors and ceilings are built with the same idea in mind. Many Amish homes have dirt floors in certain areas, especially storage rooms or basements. Dirt doesn't conduct heat quickly, so even when it's hot outside, those rooms stay cool and damp. It's nature's version of insulation. Then there's the roof. You wouldn't believe how much difference a good roof makes. Amish roofs are often sloped and covered in heavy shingles or metal sheets that reflect sunlight. Some even use cedar shakes, which are naturally resistant to rot and fire, and also happen to be great at regulating temperature. Now, windows. Yes, even the placement of windows is part of the plan. Amish builders know that too many windows on the west side of a house means more afternoon sun and more heat, so they limit them. Instead, they favour north and south-facing windows. Why? Because the sun moves east to west. Windows on the north and south get less direct sunlight, meaning less solar gain. That's right. No fancy shading systems, no electric blinds, just careful planning. And here's another trick: window size. Most windows in Amish homes are small and tight-fitting. Not only does that help with security and durability, but it also reduces the amount of warm air that can sneak in. Big picture windows might look nice, but they're basically giant heat magnets. The Amish skip those entirely. Doors are also built to block heat. Thick wood doors with tight seals keep the inside air where it belongs. No drafts, no leaks, just solid, stable temperature control. But it's not just about keeping the heat out. It's also about trapping the cold in. At night, when the air cools down, Amish families open their windows to let fresh, chilly air flow inside. Then, once the sun starts to rise, they close everything up tight. That cool air gets trapped inside the thick walls and stays there all day. It's like putting ice in a cooler. Once you close the lid, the cold stays in. Same idea. Some Amish homes even have double-layered walls. Not like the ones in modern houses with fiberglass in between. These are actual 2 layers of solid material, like logs or stone, with an air gap in the middle. That air acts as a buffer zone, slowing down the transfer of heat. And don't forget about curtains. Yes, curtains. Heavy wool or cotton curtains are hung over windows during the summer months. They're not just for decoration. They help block sunlight and reduce glare. Some families even line them with tin foil or white fabric to reflect the sun away from the glass. You might think that sounds extreme, but it works. Have you ever walked into a room with dark curtains and felt like you stepped into an oven? Now imagine the opposite, light-coloured, thick curtains that bounce the sun back outside before it can warm the room. Even the layout of the house plays a role. Many Amish homes are built with long hallways and high ceilings. This allows for better airflow. Hot air rises, so having taller rooms helps pull the heat up and away from people. Some houses even have vents near the ceiling to release that hot air outside. It's like a natural exhaust system. No fans needed. Another clever detail? Porches. Nearly every Amish home has a wide front porch. And while it may seem like just a place to sit, it's actually a brilliant piece of design. The porch shades the front door and windows from direct sunlight, acting like a built-in awning. That keeps the entryway cool and prevents the sun from baking the front of the house. The orientation of the house itself matters too. Amish builders often position homes so that the longest wall faces north-south. That way, the shorter sides face east and west, where the sun hits hardest. Less exposure equals less heat. This kind of thinking isn't new. In fact, it's ancient. People used to build homes based on the movement of the sun. But somewhere along the way, we forgot. The Amish didn't. And then there's the landscaping. Trees are planted strategically around the house. Shade trees on the west and south sides provide natural cover. Vines climb trellises, creating living shade. Even barns and sheds are positioned to cast shadows over the main house during the hottest parts of the day. You won't see any manicured lawns or decorative fountains in an Amish yard. Everything serves a purpose. Every plant, every structure, every angle of the house. It's all part of a bigger cooling strategy. What's really impressive is that none of this costs extra money. These techniques don't require expensive gadgets or high-tech materials. They just require knowledge. Knowledge passed down through generations. In fact, many Amish families still use the same building methods their ancestors did 200 years ago. And guess what? Those homes still work perfectly today. So next time you're sweating through another power bill, remember this. Sometimes the best technology is no technology at all. The Amish didn't invent insulation or ventilation, but they mastered it. And the result? A house that stays cool without a single plug-in fan. Number 2. Root cellars, nature's refrigerator. Now that we've seen how Amish homes are built to keep cool air locked inside, let's go underground, literally. Because one of the most fascinating and effective cooling secrets the Amish use isn't just about keeping their living spaces cool. It's about keeping their food cold, without electricity, without freezers, and without even a single ice pack. And it all starts with something most people have never even heard of, the root cellar. If you're picturing a dark, damp basement filled with spiders and mystery boxes, think again. A root cellar is far more than just storage space. It's a carefully designed, temperature-controlled chamber buried into the earth, and it works like magic. So what exactly is a root cellar? Think of it as nature's refrigerator. Only better. Because unlike your fridge, which needs constant electricity and maintenance, a root cellar runs on one thing and one thing only, the earth itself. You see, the ground has this amazing ability to stay at a fairly stable temperature deep below the surface. While it might be sweltering hot outside, just a few feet underground, the temperature hovers around 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. That's not just cool, It's practically perfect for preserving food. And the Amish? They've been using this natural phenomenon for over 2 centuries. They don't just dig a hole and throw stuff in. No way. These cellars are built with care, often lined with stone or wood, ventilated just right, and sometimes even insulated with straw or sand. The location matters too. A good root cellar is usually dug into a hillside or placed under the house where it's shaded and protected from direct sunlight. Some are even partially above ground, but surrounded by thick layers of dirt and mulch. This kind of design keeps the air inside fresh and cool without ever warming up, even during the hottest days of summer. But how does it actually work? Well, it's simple science. The soil absorbs heat slowly. So while the sun is beating down on the roof, the ground stays cool. And because the root cellar is buried, it doesn't get affected by the daily ups and downs of outdoor temperatures. It's like having your own personal cave, except instead of hiding from dragons, you're hiding your carrots, potatoes, apples, and even meats from the heat. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine it's July. Outside, it's 105 degrees Fahrenheit. You step into your kitchen and open the fridge. Cold air rushes out, but that fridge is working overtime, guzzling power, making noise, and costing you money. Now imagine walking into your backyard, lifting a heavy wooden trapdoor, and descending a few steps into the earth. As soon as you open the door to your root cellar, a wave of cool air hits your face. No compressor, no coils, just nature doing its job. Inside, shelves line the walls. Jars of pickled vegetables sit next to baskets of onions. Crates of apples rest quietly in the corner. And everything stays fresh for weeks, even months, without spoiling. Some Amish families even store dairy products like butter and cheese in separate compartments. Others keep extra blankets and candles in there for winter. And here's the kicker. You don't need any special tools or skills to build one. With a little planning, anyone can do it. But the Amish didn't just stumble upon this idea. They inherited it. Their ancestors brought the concept over from Europe, where root cellars were used long before refrigerators existed. In fact, every early American settler knew how to build one. But somewhere along the way, we lost the knowledge. The Amish didn't. And it shows. In many Amish communities, root cellars aren't just for emergencies or special occasions. They're part of everyday life. Families rely on them for food storage, especially during harvest season when they gather fruits and vegetables from their gardens. And the beauty of a root cellar is that it doesn't just keep things cold, it also controls humidity. Yes, humidity. Too much moisture ruins some foods, too little dries others out. But a well-built root cellar balances both. How? By using ventilation ducts and small windows that allow just enough airflow to prevent mold without letting in warm air. Some even have drainage systems to keep water from pooling on the floor. That means apples stay crisp, potatoes don't sprout, and onions don't rot. And if you're wondering whether this works in different climates, the answer is yes. Whether you're in Pennsylvania, Ohio, or even Texas, a properly constructed root cellar can maintain a consistent temperature. Of course, building one takes time. You have to choose the right spot, away from tree roots, high water tables, and flooding zones. You have to make sure it's deep enough, but not so deep that it becomes impossible to access. But once it's done, it's basically free food preservation. No energy, no cost. Just cold storage powered by the earth. And here's another bonus. Root cellars aren't just useful in the summer. They're lifesavers in the winter too. When snow covers the ground and freezing temperatures hit, the cellar acts like an insulator. Instead of getting colder, it holds steady at that same 35 to 40 degree Fahrenheit range. That means food doesn't freeze. It just stays perfectly chilled. Imagine not having to worry about your vegetables turning to ice in the middle of January, or needing to run to the store every time you run low on milk. With a root cellar, you plan ahead. You stock up, and you know your food will last. And let's not forget, these cellars are incredibly resilient. Unlike modern fridges, which can break down or stop working during power outages, root cellars don't rely on anything but gravity and insulation. No buttons, no circuits, just stone, wood, and soil. Some Amish families even pass down their root cellars through generations. Grandparents teach their kids how to organise, rotate, and preserve food. It's part of their culture, and honestly, it's a skill we could all benefit from learning. Because in today's world, where food waste is a huge problem and grocery bills keep climbing, having a place to store your own homegrown produce safely and naturally is nothing short of genius. So next time you find yourself grumbling about your electric bill or tossing out spoiled fruit, remember this. There's a group of people in America who figured out how to keep food fresh without spending a dime on electricity. And they've been doing it for 200 years. Now that's cool. Number 3, smart ventilation and airflow control. So far, we've seen how Amish homes are built to keep cool air locked inside, using thick walls, smart window placement, and underground storage like root cellars. But what happens when the sun goes down and the temperature drops? Do they just let the house heat up again the next day? Nope. They use something even simpler than insulation or underground storage. They move the air. And not with fans or AC units, but with clever ventilation. Yes, that's right. The Amish have mastered the art of moving air through their homes using nothing more than design, timing, and a bit of old-school wisdom. You might think that opening a window is just opening a window, but in an Amish home, it's a carefully planned event, because they know exactly when to open them, which ones to open, and for how long. It all starts at night. When the sun sets and the outside temperature begins to drop, Amish families swing into action. They throw open every window on the lower level of the house. Why the bottom? Because cold air sinks. So by letting the cool night air pour in from below, it naturally pushes the warm air up and out through vents or windows near the ceiling. It's like giving your house a deep breath of fresh, chilly air, and it only takes about 20 minutes to make a difference. Once the house is full of cool air, they close everything up tight. Windows, doors, even those heavy wool curtains we talked about earlier. This traps the coolness inside, keeping the home comfortable well into the next day. Think of it like closing the lid on a cooler. You let the cold air in at night, then seal it in before the sun can heat things back up. It's so effective that many Amish homes stay 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the outside temperature, even during midday. But there's more to it than just opening windows at night. The layout of the house itself plays a huge role. Amish homes are often built with tall ceilings and long hallways. These features aren't just for looks. They help create natural airflow. Hot air rises, cold air stays low. So if you have high ceilings, the warmest air floats up and away from people. That's why older homes always feel a little cooler upstairs. The heat gets trapped near the top. Some Amish houses even install small vents near the ceiling to help release that hot air outside faster. These vents are usually covered with adjustable louvers, so they can control how much air escapes depending on the time of day and the weather. Another trick? Cross-ventilation. That means having windows on opposite sides of the house. Open one side, close the other, and you create a breeze. It's like turning your home into a giant wind tunnel. And if done right, this breeze can be strong enough to make sitting inside feel like standing under a fan. Now, not every Amish home has windows on both ends. Some are built in corners or against hills, but that doesn't stop them. Instead, they use doors and interior passageways to guide the air through the house. For example, some families leave internal doors open between rooms to allow for better airflow. Others use screened porches as a kind of air buffer, drawing in cool air from outside and letting it flow through the house before it warms up. Even the placement of furniture matters. In many Amish homes, large pieces like wardrobes or bookshelves are positioned to avoid blocking airflow paths. Imagine trying to push water through a pipe filled with rocks. That's what it's like trying to move air through a room cluttered with furniture. By keeping pathways clear, they let the cool air do its job without resistance. And here's another clever detail: attic vents. Many Amish homes have small openings near the roof peak. These vents act like exhaust ports, pulling hot air out of the house and allowing cooler air to replace it from below. Some families even install rotating cupola vents, those little dome-shaped structures you sometimes see on old barns. They spin with the wind, creating suction that pulls hot air out of the attic and off the roof. This keeps the entire structure cooler, especially on sunny days when roofs can reach temperatures over 150 degrees Fahrenheit. And while we're on the subject of roofs, Amish builders often choose lighter coloured roofing materials. Why? Because dark shingles absorb more heat, lighter ones reflect it. That may seem minor, but over time it makes a real difference in indoor comfort. Even the shape of the roof matters. Sloped roofs are common in Amish communities because they allow for better airflow around the house. The angle also helps rainwater drain quickly, which prevents dampness and mould, both enemies of a cool, dry home. But ventilation isn't just about cooling the house. It's also about controlling moisture and preventing mould. In the summer, humidity can build up fast, especially in tightly sealed homes. To fight this, some Amish families crack a window slightly during the day, just enough to let moist air escape without letting too much heat in. They also use dehumidifying materials like charcoal bags or lime powder in corners and closets to soak up excess moisture. And here's a tip you don't hear often. They place bowls of salt in certain rooms. Salt absorbs moisture from the air, helping to keep the environment drier and more comfortable. It's a simple trick, but it works. Of course, none of this would matter if they didn't also understand the importance of timing. Amish families don't just open windows whenever they feel like it. They follow a rhythm, based on the sun, the seasons, and the movement of the air. In the early morning, they close everything up before the sun hits. By late afternoon, they check the temperature outside. And if it's starting to drop, they crack a window or two to begin the cycle again. It's like living in sync with nature instead of fighting it. And honestly, that's the whole secret behind Amish cooling techniques. They don't try to overpower the heat with machines. They work with the environment. They use what's already there: the movement of air, the behaviour of heat, the power of shade. And they do it without spending a dime on electricity. So next time you're sweating through a summer afternoon, remember this. Sometimes the best way to beat the heat isn't by cranking up the AC. It's by learning how to move the air, just like the Amish have been doing for generations. Number 4. Evaporative cooling and wet curtains. So far, we've seen how Amish homes are built to stay cool using thick walls, underground storage, and smart airflow. But what happens when even that isn't enough? When it's so hot that the air itself feels like it's been sitting in an oven? Well, believe it or not, the Amish have a trick for that too. And it's something so simple, you'll wonder why you never thought of it before. It starts with water. Yes, plain old H2O, because when water evaporates, it cools the air around it. You've felt it yourself. Step out of a pool on a summer day and feel the chill, even when it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside. That's evaporation at work. And hundreds of years before anyone invented a swamp cooler or a misting fan, the Amish figured out how to use this natural process to make their homes feel like they had air conditioning, without plugging anything in. Let me paint a picture for you. It's mid-July. The sun has been beating down all day. Inside the house, it's still bearable, thanks to the thick walls and careful ventilation. But as the afternoon drags on, the heat starts creeping in. What do? They grab a bucket, some clean cotton cloths, and head to the window. Then they drape those wet cloths over the windowsill, letting them hang just inside the open window. Within minutes, something amazing starts to happen. As the breeze blows through the window, it passes over the damp cloth. The water begins to evaporate, and as it does, it pulls heat from the air. Suddenly, the air coming into the house feels noticeably cooler, not by 10 degrees, maybe only a few. But in the middle of a heat wave, a few degrees can mean the difference between comfort and misery. This technique, known as evaporative cooling, has been used for thousands of years. Ancient Egyptians hung wet reeds in doorways. Roman engineers designed aqueducts to circulate water through buildings. And today, many desert communities still use similar methods. But the Amish? They've kept it alive in a way that fits their lifestyle perfectly. No complicated machines, no noisy fans, just a few wet towels and a little bit of science. And here's the best part. It works best when it's dry and hot, because the drier the air, the more water evaporates, and the more cooling effect you get. In humid places, where the air is already soaked with moisture, it doesn't work quite as well. But in much of Amish country, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, summers may be warm, but they're often dry enough for this trick to make a real difference. Some families take it even further. Instead of just hanging one towel, they stretch several across multiple windows. Others soak the fabric in cool well water first, giving the evaporation process a head start. And if it's really sweltering, they might even place shallow bowls of water near floor vents or under open windows. As the air moves through the house, it passes over the water, picking up moisture and dropping temperature along the way. It's like having a free, silent, eco-friendly air conditioner, powered by nothing but nature. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't going to drop your home to 68 degrees Fahrenheit when it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside, but it can bring things down a few degrees. Just enough to make sitting inside feel refreshing instead of stifling, and sometimes that's all you need. Another clever twist. They use heavy cotton or wool curtains, especially in the summer. These fabrics hold water better than synthetic materials. Plus, they're thick enough to block sunlight while still allowing airflow. Some families even line the back of these curtains with white fabric or tinfoil. Why? To reflect the sun away from the window before it can heat up the room. So now you've got 2 layers of cooling power. The reflective backing keeps the sun out. The wet curtain cools the air coming in. Double protection, triple effectiveness, all from a piece of cloth. And here's another thing. They know exactly when to use it. You won't find wet curtains flapping in the wind during the dead of winter, or in the early morning when the air is already cool. Nope. This is a tool they pull out when the heat hits hardest. Late morning, early afternoon. That's when they roll it out. And just like with their ventilation strategy, timing is everything. Hang the cloth too late in the day, and the indoor temperature might already be too high to make a difference. Hang it too early, and you risk trapping humidity inside the house. So they watch the sky. They feel the breeze. They listen to the birds. And when they sense the shift in the air, that moment when the heat starts to climb, that's when they grab the bucket. Because experience has taught them, prevention beats reaction. It's easier to keep a house cool than to cool it down after it's already overheated. And again, this isn't about fancy gadgets or expensive upgrades. It's about understanding how nature works and using it to your advantage. Some Amish families even teach their kids how to manage the curtains and cloths. It becomes part of daily life, a ritual passed down through generations. And the result? A home that stays comfortable without spending a dime on electricity, without making a single trip to the hardware store, without turning on a single switch. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds almost too simple to be effective. But let's talk numbers for a second. studies show that evaporative cooling can reduce indoor temperatures by 3 to 7 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on humidity levels and airflow. That may not sound like much, but in a house that's already been cooled overnight and sealed tight in the morning, that extra drop in temperature can last all day. And unlike AC units, which consume massive amounts of energy and add to your bill every month, this method costs almost nothing. Water is free, cloth lasts for years, and there's no maintenance required. It's literally the cheapest form of cooling ever invented. And yet, most people today have completely forgotten about it. We reach for remotes instead of buckets, for thermostats instead of towels. But the Amish, they remember, and they use it every summer without fail. So next time you find yourself sweating through your clothes at home, consider this. You don't always need to fight the heat with machines. Sometimes the solution is as simple as getting a little water involved, just like the Amish have been doing, quietly, simply, and effectively, for over 200 years. Number 5. Lifestyle adjustments for beating heat. So far, we've seen how Amish homes are built to stay cool using thick walls, underground storage, smart ventilation, and even water-powered cooling tricks like wet curtains. But here's something most people don't realise. Even with all those clever design hacks, none of it would work as well if the Amish didn't also change how they live during the hottest days of the year. That's right. It's not just about how their houses are built, it's about how they live inside them. Because when summer rolls around, Amish families make small but powerful changes to their daily routines. Changes that help them stay cool without spending a dime on electricity or comfort. Let's start with the obvious one. They get up early, like really early. Most Amish families are up before sunrise, and there's a reason for that. It's not just tradition or discipline, it's strategy. By starting their day at dawn, they're able to get the hardest chores done while it's still cool outside. Chores like milking cows, feeding animals, chopping wood, or working in the garden. Once the sun climbs higher and the heat kicks in, they slow down, they take breaks, and sometimes they even stop working altogether until the temperature drops again in the late afternoon. Think of it like this. Why fight the heat when you can simply avoid it? Modern life forces us into a rigid schedule, 9-to-5 jobs, school hours, traffic patterns. But the Amish aren't tied to clocks the way we are. They live by the sun, and that gives them an advantage. They know when the heat hits hardest. And they plan accordingly. Which brings us to another key lifestyle shift. They adjust what they eat, especially during the summer. You won't find Amish families boiling big pots of soup or baking heavy casseroles in July. Why? Because cooking creates heat. And when your kitchen doesn't have air conditioning, every stove flame adds degrees to the room. Instead, they switch to lighter meals, cold sandwiches, fresh vegetables from the garden, pickled foods, cheese and bread, things that don't require turning on the stove or oven. Some families even move their cooking outdoors, preparing food under shade trees or in open-air porches so the heat stays outside where it belongs. And here's a bonus tip. They drink more water, not because someone told them to hydrate, but because it's instinctive. They understand that staying hydrated helps regulate body temperature. And they do it naturally, without sports drinks or fancy hydration apps. Just plain water, taken from wells, stored in cool clay jugs, and sipped throughout the day. Now, let's talk about sleep. Because when it comes to beating the heat, the Amish have a trick that might surprise you. They sleep outside. Yes, you read that right. On the hottest nights, many Amish families don't try to force their bedrooms to stay cool. They simply move their beds, or set up cots, on the porch or in a screened-in tent in the yard. This allows them to catch the cool night breeze without fighting against a warm house. No fans, no AC, just fresh air and a light blanket. It sounds simple, and it is, but it works. better than trying to cool an entire house. And again, it's something our ancestors used to do all the time. Before central air existed, people slept on rooftops, porches, or even in hammocks outside. The Amish never stopped. They just kept doing what worked. Another thing they do, they dress differently. You'll notice that Amish clothing, while modest, is also designed for airflow. Men wear loose cotton shirts and straw hats. Women wear long dresses made from breathable fabric. There are no synthetic materials trapping sweat and heat next to the skin. Everything is made to allow movement and ventilation. And yes, they even choose colours wisely. Light-coloured clothing reflects sunlight instead of absorbing it. Dark colours, not so much. So again, they're not just dressing for style, they're dressing for survival. And then there's the biggest lifestyle shift of all. They slow down. They accept that summer is hot, and instead of fighting it, they adapt to it. They reduce physical activity during peak heat hours. They sit in shaded areas. They take naps. They play quiet games or read books indoors. They don't rush around trying to get things done in the middle of the day. They wait. They rest. They let the heat pass, because they know from experience that pushing through it only makes things worse. And here's the kicker. These adjustments aren't forced. They're part of everyday life. They don't feel like sacrifices. They feel normal. Because for generations, this is how the Amish have lived. They've built a culture around working with nature, not against it. And because of that, they don't suffer through summer the way so many modern families do. No power-hungry fans, no endless electric bills, no broken AC units. Just small, thoughtful changes to how they live. And suddenly, the heat isn't so unbearable anymore. In fact, some Amish families say they actually enjoy summer more than any other season. They love sitting outside after dinner, eating cold fruit under the stars, drinking fresh milk from the cellar, listening to crickets while the kids run barefoot across the grass. For them, summer isn't a problem to be solved. It's a rhythm to be embraced. And maybe, just maybe, that's the biggest lesson of all. Because when we look at how the Amish beat the heat, we often focus on the tools they use, the root cellars, the wet curtains, the thick walls. But the real secret? It's not just what they build, it's how they live. It's their willingness to adjust, to simplify, to listen to the world around them. And in doing so, they've created a life that stays comfortable, even when the temperature soars. So next time you're sweating through your clothes and cursing the heat, remember this. Sometimes, the best way to stay cool isn't by turning on the AC. It's by turning off the rush, slowing down, getting outside, changing what you eat, wearing lighter clothes, opening a window, taking a nap, doing the things that our ancestors did and that the Amish still do every single summer. Because in the end, staying cool isn't just about technology, it's about lifestyle. And once you master that, you'll never need a thermostat again. So there you have it, 5 powerful, time-tested ways Amish families keep their homes cool without a single plug-in or power bill. From masterfully built homes that trap cold air like a vault, to root cellars that stay naturally chilled all year round. From smart ventilation tricks that move air like magic, to wet curtains that act like free air conditioners. And finally, simple lifestyle shifts that help them live in harmony with the seasons instead of fighting them. These aren't just old-fashioned hacks. They're genius, practical, and incredibly relevant today. Whether you're looking to cut energy costs, reduce your carbon footprint, or just survive summer without sweating through your clothes, there's a lot we can learn from the Amish playbook. If you found these tips helpful or surprising, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear which hack surprised you the most. Did you already use any of these methods? Or are you planning to try one this summer? And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another life-changing tip. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes The coolest solutions come from the simplest ways of living. See you next time.